Hello, today I will be presenting an analysis of Malaysian trade performance from 2022 until 2026. This performance focused on Malaysian export and import trades, major trading partners, sector contribution, and predictions for trade performance in the second quarter of 2026. The objective of this analysis is to understand the current state of Malaysian international trade and identify which sectors are expected to drive future growth. Let's begin with Malaysian top export markets. Based on the data, Malaysian exports are mainly concentrated in several key trading partners include Singapore, Chinese, United States, Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and South Korea. Singapore constantly remains one of the Malaysian largest export destinations due to the strong economic integration and geographical proximity. China also plays a major role because of its demand for Malaysian manufactured products and raw material. Meanwhile, exports to the United States have shown significant growth and become one of Malaysia's strongest markets in recent years. The indicators that Malaysia relies heavily on both regulation and global markets to sustain export growth. Malaysian export performance is strong supported by Asian markets, while the United States continues to emerge as an increasingly important trading partner. Next, let's look at Malaysian monthly export performance from 2022 to 2026. The graph shows a general upward trend and export over the years. Although there were monthly fluctuations, export values remain strong and consistently exceeded with 100 ringgit billion in many months. The highest export performance was recorded in 2025, where several months reached approximately with 150 ringgit billion. This growth reflects strong global demand for Malaysian products, particularly electrical and electronic goods, machinery, and manufactured products. For 2026, exports have continued to perform positively despite only representing partial year data. Malaysian export sector remains recently and continues to expand despite uncertainties in the global economy. Now, let's examine Malaysian import performance. The import trend closely follows the export trend, shows steady growth from 2022 to 2026. Import region between 90 billion ringgit and 150 billion ringgit per month, with notable increase in 2025 and early 2026. This increase in import is actually a positive sign because it indicates higher industrial activity. Malaysian manufacturers import machinery, components, and raw material that are later used in production and export. In other words, higher imports support higher export. The growth in import reflects expanding international production and a healthy level of economic activity.
The first thing we can observe is that manufactured goods constantly dominate Malaysian export throughout all 5 years. In 2022, manufactured exports were approximately 1.3 trillion, increase to almost 1.39 trillion in 2025. Even though the 2026 figure is lower at around 535 billion ringgit, this is because the data only covers part of the year. This strong performance highlights Malaysia's competitiveness in industries such as electronics, semiconductors, machinery, and electrical products. Looking at the mining goods sector, export declined from around 121 billion ringgit in 2022 to approximately 36 billion ringgit in 2026. This decrease may be influenced by fluctuation in global energy price and demand for petroleum-related products. For agriculture goods, exports remain relatively stable, ranging between 95 ringgit billion and 170 billion ringgit from 2022 to 2025. In 2026, the value stands at approximately 33 billion ringgit, reflecting partial year data. The other category contributes only a very small proportion compared to the major sector. Next, let's examine Malaysian import performance. Similar to export, manufactured goods dominate imports, showing the importance of manufacturing activity within the Malaysian company. Import of manufactured goods increased from approximately 1.08 trillion in 2022 to 1.24 trillion in 2025. The indicators that Malaysia imports large quantities of machinery, industrial components, and raw material to support domestic production and export. The mining goods sector record imports between 79 billion ringgit and 130 billion ringgit over the years. Although smaller than manufacturing, it remains an important contributor. For agriculture goods, imports regained between 66 ringgit billion and 82 ringgit billion, reflecting Malaysian demand from agriculture products and food-related imports. The others category remained relatively small throughout the period. The growth in imports should not necessarily be viewed negatively. In fact, increasing import often indicates strong industrial activity because business require imported material to produce goods. Again, manufacturing goods are clearly the dominant sector. Total trade in manufactured goods increased from approximately with 2.28 ringgit trillion in 2022 to nearly 2.63 trillion ringgit in 2025. This means that manufacturing alone contributes the majority of Malaysian trade activities and serves as the main engine of economic growth. The mining goods sector recorded total trade value ranging from approximately 199 billion ringgit to 239 billion ringgit, while agriculture goods contributed between 161 billion ringgit and 195 billion ringgit. Although these sectors are important, their contribution remains significantly lower compared to manufacturing. The graph clearly illustrates the large gap between manufacturing and the other sector.
Based on the trade data and sector trends, we can make several predictions for Malaysian trade performance in the second quarter of 2026. First, the manufacturing sector is expected to remain the dominant driver of Malaysia's trade activities. Manufacturing goods account for approximately 88% of total export, 87% of total import, and 87.5% of overall trade. This clearly shows that Malaysian economy relies heavily on manufacturing industries such as semiconductors, electrical and electronic products, machinery, and industrial equipment. The strong performance of the manufacturing sector is expected to continue due to increasing global demand for technological-related products, particularly semiconductors and electronic components. As Malaysia is one of the world's major exporters of this product, the sector is likely to remain the main contributor to trade growth in Q2 2026. Second, the agriculture sector, which contributes approximately 5.6% of export, 7.2% of import, and 6.5% of total trade, is expected to maintain stable growth. palm oil remains one of Malaysia's most important agriculture exports, and steady international demand is likely to support the sector performance. However, its contribution is still significantly smaller compared to manufacturing. Third, the mining sector contributes around 5.1% of export, 4.0% of imports, and 4.6% of overall trade. Products such as crude petroleum, liquefied natural gas, and other mineral resources are expected to continue generating export revenue. However, the sector growth may be influenced by global energy price and market demand, making it less dominant than manufacturing. Overall, the data suggests that Malaysia's trade performance will continue to grow throughout Q2 2026, with manufacturing remaining the backbone of the economy. The sector overwhelming, contributing of nearly 88% of total trade, highlights its importance in sustaining Malaysian competitiveness in the global market and supporting future economic growth.